Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update, hosted by the York Group of Downing Fry Realty. Our show will bring you the most up-to-date information on the local real estate market, presented by leading experts in the field.
Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update. I'm Morgan York with the York Group of Downing Fry, and we're joined today by our host Jim York and his guest Chris Mitchell, owner of Brightway Insurance.
Thank you, Morgan, for the introduction. Well, Chris, thanks for coming on the show today. Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself if they haven't seen one of our previous shows.
Okay, yeah, my name is Chris Mitchell. I am an agency owner with Brightway Insurance. We have an office in Fort Myers. We'll be opening one in Naples here this year. And we write with over 100 companies, so home, auto, et cetera. We do all the personal lines.
Okay, well, I know you do a great job for our customers. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the changes of policies going forward from what's happened with Hurricane Irma. So could you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. Basically, up to this point, even though it's been essentially a year and a half after Irma hit, there have been well over 1 million claims filed in Florida, and they're actually still coming in. One prominent carrier was in a meeting a few weeks ago. They're still receiving about 500 a week, brand new claims, and that's one company. So they're still pouring in at thousands a week. And what it's doing is it's going to change the industry to a certain extent with certain things. We don't know exactly how yet, but some of the things that are probably you're likely going to see on insurance policies. For example, they're most likely all the carriers will probably start surcharging for tile roofs, because what most of these new claims are for tile roof replacements.
Yeah, and let me just explain that, not to explain, but I had a neighbor, okay, who called me up, and this was several weeks ago, and a roofer stopped by and says, I think I saw a crack in your roof, or tile. He says, I can get you a new roof if I can go up there and check the roof out. So, our homeowners association takes care of our roofs. So was the guy trying to scam him or what? I mean, he doesn't have any leaks. We do have a person that checks our roofs every year. So how do people handle that? Is that part of the claims coming in or no?
Yeah, that's quite a few of the claims coming in. I mean, certainly you have your legitimate claims, obviously.
Exactly right.
But along with that, you have your not so legitimate claims. I mean, a lot of those companies are what's called storm chasers. So when a hurricane hits, when a hailstorm hits somewhere, they will go to that state and kind of set up shop, and that's how a lot of times they approach people. You might be out in your lawn. Maybe they stop you to take a look.
That's right.
Sometimes they might take an aerial picture of it, and yeah, so that certainly is part of it. Those claims coming in.
And how does the insurance company handle that?
Well, I know we were going to talk a little bit about assignment of benefits, which it ties into that too. But it really depends on the individual claim scenario. I mean, a lot of them are being paid out. But there certainly is an investigation. There is an investigation? Yes. Okay. Yes. They'll have a roof engineer come out to certify the roof to see if it's actually from the hurricane, or there's a process to it. There is a process. Yes.
Okay. Because I was told him I was worried that somebody would go up there and maybe make it damaged enough so you can. They said they handled the claims, everything for somebody. Yeah, and that is part of the allure of when they approach you to do it. And what we've seen several issues. So, for example, sometimes what we've seen with customers, and this kind of goes, there's what's called assignment of benefits, and it's a contract that a lot of these roofers present the customer, and it says, hey, if you sign here, we'll take care of this, and we will then assume everything. You don't have to worry about the insurance company. You don't have to worry about any of the payments or anything, and they will actually have you sign that. Now, in certain instances, those things can help. But what we've seen with some of those roofing companies is I had a customer last week where the roofing company said that she had a leak in her roof. I instructed her to get a couple estimates, which she did, and one estimate was for about 60-some thousand. The other estimate was for 30-some thousand. The 60-some thousand person was asking her to sign that contract, that assignment of benefits, and what it says was, we'll pay for your hurricane deductible, but we also want you to provide us with names and numbers of people so that we can go inspect their roofs. Okay.
But And she kind of picked up on the fact it didn't sound right because their price was more than double the other company.
Right.
And so what can happen is to your neighbor, he may get a new roof, and this is what we typically instruct customers. I mean, we don't really say don't file the claim because we really don't know exactly.
Right.
But one of the dangers in filing the claim is if you have an older roof, for example, let's say you've got a 20-year-old tile roof. After the investigation, so the insurance company has their adjuster, they may have a roof engineer come out, and they may determine this roof's 20 years old. They're not cracked tiles. They're just lifting, but tiles are supposed to lift. And it's more of an issue of the roof's 20 years old. And they may deny the claim, and then they may turn around and require you to get a new roof and non-renew your policy because, well, now you're saying you have damage, so now you'll be non-renewed, and so you can be on the hook for that roof. That's one of the issues. The other issue is, again, we're talking about those assignment of benefit contracts
right.
for the roofer. They actually, one of those things that when you sign that contract, you are relinquishing your rights in the claim.
Right.
So what we've seen happen is some of our clients, the insurance carrier hasn't paid the amount that roofer is looking for, and as we talked about before, their prices are typically almost always overinflated, and we've seen that roofer turn around and put a lien on our customer's house because they didn't get what they wanted back. So again, while it can be useful, unfortunately, most of the time it seems that it's very unnecessary because you can typically work through these things with your insurance agent.
And that's why you have a lot of these newer claims coming in? Is that a high percentage of these claims coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say exactly the percent,
okay,
but it's certainly, it would, from what we see every day, it's definitely the majority for roofs, tile roofs, yeah.
And then here, we have another question about the new flood changes that could be in 2020.
Yeah, so FEMA is trying to, I think they're trying to do the right thing here because what happens in normal functioning insurance situations in every state is, for example, home insurance, every individual carrier has to determine how much premium is charged for each individual home. Whereas flood insurance, it isn't modeled that same way. So it appears, and the changes they haven't gotten too specific, but it appears that what they're trying to do by 2020 is to individually model every home. So for example, you might have two homes in the same flood zone, right, but one is on the very edge of on the edge of the zone, which means it has a much higher chance of flooding, but the other one's on the far edge has much less chance, but they're paying the same premium. So one of the things they're going to try to do is remodel that so perhaps that one that's at a higher risk is going to pay more. And they're going to also factor in previous flooding claims. There are all sorts of things they're going to, because NFIP has been paying out more than they're taking in, and in certain states it's worse than others. Louisiana historically they've paid out much more in flood claims than they've taken in. Florida, typically they take in more than they pay out. However, with Irma hitting and Michael hitting last year,
right,
that's caused a change in that a little bit. But so that's essentially what they're trying to do, which I think is a good endeavor, but we don't know all the details yet.
Well, Chris, we're going to take a little short break, and we're going to hear a little bit about the York Real Estate Group, and we'll be back in 1 minute. Thank you.
Thinking of buying or selling a home in Naples, Marco Island, Bonita, or Estero, Florida? Think of the most experienced York Real Estate Group, associated with the #1 brokerage in Southwest Florida, Downing Fry Realty, which produces yearly real estate transactions of over $1 billion. Jim, Michael, and Morgan make up the York Real Estate Group of Downing Fry Realty, with over $275 million in sales transactions, along with offering over 25 combined years' experience in the local market. The Yorks can offer the experience and trust you need in a realtor. Call them today at 239-273-6727 or visit their website at www.naplesyorkrealestate.com.
Welcome back. Chris, is the state doing anything that's in the process of this assignment of benefits with some of these contractors and maybe some of the people that are getting taken advantage of?
Yes, they're trying to submit legislation to change that a little bit, and they've got some that's been submitted, and they're working through the process. Because again, generally, we do recommend against signing those because it just delays processes and it again takes away your rights. Because what it's doing is, because of mostly inflating claims, they create more lawsuits.
Right.
It ultimately, it ends up costing every one of us more money because the insurance carriers are going to end up raising their premiums. And those are the carriers that are just writing the actual homes, and those are also the carriers that cover for reinsurance, which is the catastrophic type insurance policies when a hurricane hits, for example.
In sense, what is going to be the new changes in claims since Irma, with policies and that?
So, one of the things that Irma did, because it hit the whole state, was it caused a tremendous disruption in how claims were handled. And one of the big problems was that Hurricane Harvey had hit Texas 2 to 3 weeks prior. So what you had is what typically happens in those scenarios is adjusters from other states will be called in to the troubled area. So you had all the normally already licensed adjusters essentially in Texas, and then all of a sudden Irma hits, and so you had claims issues. People weren't hearing from adjusters. Adjusters were quitting because what happens, insurance companies have contracts with adjusters, and essentially different companies were offering more money, and so the adjusters can just leave and go work.
Oh, really?
And you're, as the policyholder, is obviously going to have a lot more difficulty with it. So some of the things that carriers have already done to improve that, they've done quite a few things. Number one, they're working on these contracts with adjusters and maybe improving the adjuster force, right, getting more there. One of the things that, and these, by the way, some of these were actually tested in Hurricane Michael, which happened this past summer, and they seem to work very well, is that now when a hurricane is hitting, these carriers, a lot of them are narrowing down once they know where once it's down to, say, a few day or two before it hits, they know where. They'll proactively contact every policyholder, send them their policy information, and here's what you do. And then after the fact, what they'll do is they'll proactively reach out to them again to follow up. And they're actually using aerial imagery now. So sometimes, perhaps right after the storm hits, they can get aerial imagery to see, okay, this is what the house looked like before and after. And if they proactively see there's been a bunch of damage, they will go ahead and contact you to state this and assist you in filing the claim. So it's actually been pretty helpful. And the other major thing they've been doing, and a lot of companies have done this, they have improved or streamlined an escalation process. So in the event where you're dealing with thousands, tens of thousands of claims at once, maybe one gets left in the shuffle because an adjuster left or they're just having issues, they have given us as agents an easier process to get this escalated to get back in touch with the customer.
Well, geez, Chris, I've learned a lot today, and I hope our viewers have learned a lot today, and I appreciate you coming back, and I hope you come back on the show again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week. We have a great guest coming on next week. We have a litigation attorney coming on talking about different litigation cases they have in the state of Florida. Thank you.